This is Radio Poland broadcasting from Warsaw.
Polish fusion,
Polski fusion,
the Polish palate,
the Polish quest for taste, pierogi,
pizza,
kebab,
molecular cuisine.
Tales from the Polish kitchen with
Agnieszka Bielawska
Elżbieta Krajewska. Hello everyone.
Hello and welcome to the program.
September the 13th was Polish Day at the Expo 2015 in Milan. And Expo is organized under the theme of feeding the planet energy for life. And looking at it, it's truly a big celebration of food, isn't it? And while the Polish exposition on the one hand tries to focus on things such as IT or space research or our modern agriculture, on the other hand, a lot of the reports which are coming in is about the food there, about what is being served at the restaurant, about what the various regions are presenting out of local produce. So sometimes
I think it's a very good idea because
it is. But you get this feeling you want to be there and try it all.
Yes, and especially the fact that it is food in Italy, a country which is one of the most appreciative of food, of eating, of celebrating the art of eating. So I think that it is a fantastic opportunity for Polish producers and also for Polish chefs, because there were many of them presenting the art of preparing food, the Polishness in the food slightly different from the tradition, but still the Polishness. So yes, as you said, it would be lovely if one could be there.
And try the things. Well, of course, everyone's talking about the Polish żurek, the sour soup, which is being served at the restaurant there. But there's also a Polish shop which is selling all sorts of specialties, starting with our cured meats and ending, I don't know, with, I think, spun sugar, which is something which I find quite amazing. We've been talking mostly about apples in connection with the Expo, and that
because the Polish pavilion
resembles an apple crate, and that we are serving fresh apple juice and whatnot, and apples everywhere. But the spun sugar thing really caught my imagination.
This is funny. This is not associated with Poland, I would say. I mean, where do we come across it?
Well, usually at fairs, and
yes.
You usually see kids with very sticky faces, really loving it.
Well, yeah, fairs, parks, yes, and all events that are associated with children. Yes, you do remember that from your childhood days, but I would not declare that it's typically a Polish issue.
So this is a wonder, but anyway, it seems to be very, very attractive. Another thing which I found quite astonishing was gingerbread, which somehow Lower Silesia was promoting, and here's me thinking that gingerbread.
Whereas Lower Silesia.
Exactly. This is something which we associate mostly with Toruń, and that's the gingerbread capital in this country. How on earth Lower Silesia? But apparently they have a tradition of decorating gingerbread and at all the various castles and palaces which are there. So another thing.
I think also Polish venison played quite a role in the presentation of the Polish culinary art. The żurek, as you said, the preserves, because what we treat as something completely normal to many people, sour cucumbers, which are a feast for all of us and for all occasions, are by many treated as something which is just gone rotten. So allowing people to get to know what we excel in. And I also think that the regular sour cucumbers with the dripping also came into being as presenting the Polish culinary taste. And I think that there was also quite a lot of discussion about the Polish freshwater fish, of which we have quite an abundance, and many of which are long forgotten because we stick to the trout. But there are so many of them in the Mazury lakes and in rivers that they also came into being very much in force, promoted by the Polish chefs. And of course the apples. The apples, as we said, because of the shape of the Polish pavilion, because of the fact that Russia has...
yes, it was a political thing.
Yes, placed a ban on Polish
side.
apple imports. So we lost one of the major clients. We are, in fact, European Union's biggest apple producer.
And probably the second in the world,
So-
if not the first at times.
So
yes.
there had to be talk about apples. And I think it is not only the issue of apples, of which now I cannot really remember, but it astounded me how many of the apple varieties we have in this country. We usually see in all the marketplaces some 3 to 4, but apparently there is over 50 grown in Poland, many of which I frankly have never encountered. So this is a funny thing. But also, speaking of apples, we have...
Cider.
Exactly. Cider, the refreshing beverage that we have over the past couple of years, excelled in producing, in the sense that it came into being. So because of all the regulations, etc., which earlier hampered the production of cider in this country.
I was looking for something, one thing else in connection with apples, which somehow I missed seeing. We are talking about apples, we are talking about cider, we're talking about apple juice, but where's the szarlotka? Where's the apple cake? Come on. And I mean the apple cake and not the other, because of course anyone who's come to Poland will know that it can also be a very tasty, but perhaps a slightly dangerous drink.
Yes.
Not necessarily with apples too, yes, with apple juice, but with the other.
And also I think that people did forget about the baked apples, which used to be, in years gone by, there used to be a very lovely dessert. It was an apple stuck into the oven. It was cored, and instead of the core you had some delightful homemade marmalade or sugar sprinkled on it, and lo behold, you had a lovely dessert. Sweet, nice, and
good for you.
And good for you, yes.
You were mentioning all the freshwater fish, which were also in focus at the Expo. But herrings, that's another thing which we associate very strongly with Poland. Although some might argue that there's strong competition from other Baltic states in respect of the herring. But anyway, they were to be had at the restaurant and possibly at the shop.
Do you know anything? Yes, mushrooms. This is a problem because, in fact, due to the very dry summer season, September is not for the time being seeing any mushrooming. It is a mushroom season, but there is very, very few of them. And I think that indeed this item on the Polish culinary scene is extremely vital, because we do excel in preparing mushrooms.
And we haven't even started on the exposition of Polish design, focusing on the table, Polish china, Polish silverware, and chairs.
And chairs, yes. That's the modern art and the modern designers. Polish chairs really are fantastic.
As are Polish plates and Polish china and pottery.
As is Polish food.
Oh, well. Thanks for being with us.